Hi, it's David Smith. So, following on from last week's monster thing, I had been asked to go with zombies, ghouls, but because of the audience member being a little bit younger who wanted to have a look at the pictures, I've obviously going to put them. I'm going to make them friendly rather than go the whole hog and try and terrify anybody. So, starting off three circles, and I'm going to adapt each one of these slightly differently to knock up our own zombie. So probably for me the biggest zombie influence over the last couple of years, artistically speaking, I guess would be Plants vs Zombies. Absolutely love the game, love the artwork. So I suppose kind of first one's going to influence or be influenced from that. So I'm just going to take a normal circular shape. I'm going to have this one slightly mummified. Put some bandages around it. So keeping it really simple. So by having three different circles as well, you can really play with your zombies, with the features. So in this one we're going to keep to the circle, and then in the others we're going to play with that circle shape. So I'm going to refine it a little bit, so putting in quite basic features of this one, trying to keep it friendly as friendly as a zombie can be. Thank you for all the views what we've had of the Frankenstein video and the cat video just before that one. Much appreciated. Please feel free to leave comments though on other monsters that you'd like me to cover in subsequent videos. And what I am going to do as well is I am going to do some realistic ones. So if you want to see a realistic zombie or werewolf, anything like that, just leave your comments and then we'll try and build up a whole bunch of monsters for our monster section. But in the meantime, if you want to leave any other comments, other suggestions for new videos or new projects, by all means leave a comment. So what we've done here, we've kept the circle quite intact really and just played with the size of the eyes and things like that, and the positioning of the eyes. So as I mentioned, this one's drawing quite heavily on the Plants vs Zombies type of zombie for this one. Keep trying to convince the kids that they should get it for Christmas, so we can all have a go on it. So that's zombie number one. So for zombie number two, I'm going to start, I think with this one we'll go a bit wider on the face, so we're going to start by positioning the ear. And again, with these, particularly with zombies, you can't really mess these up because they're so bizarre and misfigured that how can you make a mistake, really? So it's just a case of accentuating certain features like we've done with some of the other illustrations, and go slightly wider on this one. So the old starey eye there. And with all these drawings, what I do, this kind of stuff, about having fun with it, not taking it too seriously and not putting the pressure on yourself, just scribbling. And what sometimes happens is you kind of strike gold with a drawing, or you think that's got some feature which is worth exploring, or you store it away for a different time where it comes into its own and you're able to make use of it. And I've got books and books and folders full of sketch work which I've kind of stored from the past. And at some point it gets looked at again, and if it's something which I can use, then it gets brought out at that point. If it's not, it gets squirreled away again for another point. But often these things do get brought out and reused. So if there's something in there which you fancy, or necessarily fancy, but you like the look of, keep hold of it, because you never know when it might come in handy. So with this one, we're going to have the skull kind of cracked open. So apparently it seems to be the food of choice with all zombie movies, the old brains. So what better thing to have in our drawing? Well, a bit of brain there. And obviously we can play with the colours and bits of goo and everything else we can add into that. So we've made this one slightly squat now. I mean, what I may do when it comes to tweaking this thing on Photoshop is I might even make this, compress it a little bit more, and that's the beauty of Photoshop. You can manipulate things like that very, very easily. It saves you doing a full redraw. So we're going to have a few age spots kind of around the skins, become thinner, and it's all a bit more gross. The body, I suppose, is breaking down. It starts showing these age spots. So then for our final one, I think what we're going to do is stretch the features out a little bit more. So we'll go with, just reposition myself, get comfortable. So I'm going to stretch this face down. Drop the jaw. I don't know why it is with the cartoons, but we always seem to have one very large, starey, piercing eye, and then the other is often a bit closed. I suppose it comes from the old movies, the Igors and the Frankensteins. Make a more of a show of this, but you can see how it's, again, we're still using those 3 circles to start with, and that's given us our scale. But by stretching the face, compressing the face and keeping it normal, it's given us 3 very different features and feels for our zombies. So what we'll do is give this guy a bit more of a hairdo. The ears in there as well. So again, like what we've got the age spots on here because the skin's slowly breaking down. Because the zombies aren't getting the proper nutrition and things like that now. Around the teeth area, not only have we got teeth missing, but the skin's been drawn around the lips. And what I'll do is when I'm putting colour onto these, I'll obviously put the customary yellowed teeth onto this thing. So we want this really unkempt hairstyle going on. Bit of a moustache in there, why not? And with this one, let's try and have a bit of a debonair type. More sophisticated zombie there when he's got a monocle on the go as well. But again, when you're at this stage and you're just playing around with it, you can throw things on there if you don't like the look of it. Just rub the line out or fill a page full of these things and do a whole bunch. So I think that'll do us for our roughing out. So what I'll do is I'll just quickly bang some ink onto these guys. So again, as with the other videos, I'm going to keep the outer line a lot thicker than the inner lines. That's going to give it not only some presence on the page, but it's also going to help it to stand out. And then when we go into my fine liner, when we're putting in details, I use a fine liner, putting those bits of details in. Swap that to a fine liner as well. You put in the detail in as well, it's easier with the fine liner because you've got a little bit more control than with the Sharpies. So we'll just keep this one quite plain, like the Plants vs Zombies type zombie. Again, off camera, what I'll do as well is I'll just smarten up some of these lines, but this will just give you a rough idea where I'm going with it. So then that one's kept relatively simple, and then what we'll do is we'll put a bit more detail on these guys, but we'll still stick to that convention of keeping the fatter line around the edge. So hopefully staying entertained and coping with the second lockdown we now find ourselves in. So the nature of what I do, I'm forced to work from home now as well, but as I mentioned last week, I actually do have a lot of work on at the moment. I'm working on a couple of children's books, and I have commissions for Christmas. As I've also mentioned, this does tend to be my busy time. People commission me to draw pictures of pets and family members for Christmas, so I tend to be doing those type of things. So I'm working with people for books that they wrote during the first lockdown. So we've got a couple of kids' books hopefully coming out in the near future. But if you want to have a look at some of the stuff what I do when I'm not doing YouTube videos, feel free to check out some of the links below. Go onto Facebook, or Twitter's a good one. I do a lot of stuff on Twitter. So have a look at the stuff what I produce, and if you're interested in a commission, there's links to my website. You can find me on there and contact me. So again, putting these details in here. A bit of old brain fluid leaking out of there. We'll make it a bit gross, haven't we? Bit of a veins to the eye as well will make that bloodshot. Even a bit of detail on the teeth. So a lot of these liver type spots as well, we'll put those in. And we're colouring in via Photoshop. So onto our last zombie. Teeth in. Really accentuate that one on the. Alright, now when it comes to the eyeglass, feel free to use a compass. I know this is not a perfect circle, but for the purposes of this, we're going to assume it's been duffed up a little bit. For all the owners no longer at his best, so why would the monocle do? And I'll probably keep on working onto these a little bit longer after the video, but you'll see the final guys at the end of the video anyway. So I'm just putting those details in around lip, what I mentioned. I've got the little bit of a moustache in there still, and then I'm going to just flick between Sharpie a little bit of a comb over there. A little bit of cracking to the skull. A few wisps of hair on the other side. And then we're just going to put all the links of the monocle's chain dropping off to the side. Just finish that off with a few more loose bits of hair cascading off there at the back. So obviously when you get it to this point, you can keep going with the detail. You can put blemishes on the skin and spots and anything else that you fancy, or just call it quits at that point. So our three amigos here. So we've got the classic Plants vs Zombies type of zombie here. This one we've tried to compress it a little bit more detail in, bit more gross. And then this one we've extended the face and the features up in the other direction, and we've tried to give him a little bit of an air of sophistication with the monocle on there. Well, there you go, there's my three zombies. By all means, please leave your comments, suggestions for what should be featuring in the next monsters, whether you want some realistic stuff in there as well. You might even want the bodies on these guys doing, but leave your comments, leave your likes, and leave your subscribes. But thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one. Cheers, bye bye.